Now for what's tipping the scales in the synagogue leader murder trial happening in Michigan. A jury debating the fate of defendant Michael Jackson-Bolanos for days, telling the judge last Friday that they were deadlocked on their decision. Well, then after a few more days of deliberations, they finally reached a partial verdict.
In the case, the people of the state of Michigan versus Michael Jackson-Bolanos, Mr. Foreperson, will you please read the verdict form as marked as to count 1, first-degree felony murder?
Deadlocked.
As to count 2, first-degree premeditated murder?
Not guilty.
As to count 3, home invasion first-degree?
Deadlocked.
Or concealing facts or misleading the police.
Okay, so he's guilty of concealing facts, felony murder, hung on the of premeditated murder. She was stabbed to death, retrying Mr. Jack. Those two decide to do that. Will they bring in very special guest, my attorney, Brian Brown? He was on out, and we're so imagine for you.
Morning. Yeah, it's a victory. It's not I was anticipating. Not guilty on the home invasion further, but we have to take our victories.
Sure, the state will do, Brian. Do you think they're going to retry your client on these charges?
Mixed feelings about that. A part of me says no, based upon their lack of case, as well as other evidence that came that would, in my opinion, eliminate another individual and exonerate my client. But also the high publicity nature of this case may play an impact on whether or not the state decides to move forward, charging them again.
I appreciate it, Brian. Let's play client. He just missed it. We jumped into this trial late, but he took the stand, and he's explaining in this clip here we're about to play that he did not kill Samantha Wall, nor did he go inside of her apartment. Let's watch.
Evidence during your interview, right? You eventually admitted to the truth.
Correct.
Okay. And you would agree, would you agree that there was a lot of evidence that was testified to or shown in this particular trial, correct? And despite the insinuations from the prosecutor, well, I'm asking you a question. Did you kill Samantha Wall?
No,
okay.
I did not.
Did you go inside of her apartment?
I did not.
Okay.
Brian, of course, hindsight's 20/20, right? And we know that the decision to testify belongs always to the defendant. So your client alone, making that decision. Looking back after hearing the partial verdict now, do you think the decision to testify was helpful?
I think it was. I think my client came out as honest and truthful. And I believe that without his testimony, it's certain questions that the jury would have had that would not have been answered. And had he not testified, it very well may have been a guilty on all charges and not have been a deadlock.
Appreciate it, Brian. Let's take a look at some of his cross-examination. And we know that the one thing the jury did find him guilty of was not being truthful with police, concealing some facts. And here, this is a little portion of the cross where he's explaining that he didn't lie about his knowledge of the homicide because he's saying he didn't commit a homicide.
That wasn't a lie. I don't know nothing about homicides. I didn't know nothing of what happened to that woman.
Well, you testified that you saw a woman outside and that you touched her body, right?
That's true.
So when the police asked you, did you see anyone out there, and you said, I didn't see anyone, that was a lie, right?
That was a lie for the purpose he stated that I went into her house. So that made me tell him, no, I did not go in nobody's house. I did not kill Mrs. Wall. I did not do none of that.
Okay, and so, Brian, walk us through how this gets a little muddy, for him in these facts, because he's in the vicinity and he's doing burglaries, right? Kind of walk us through what occurred with your client, please.
Well, he was in the vicinity of her apartment. He had admitted to police earlier that he was checking car handles to see if the doors were open on certain cars. If the doors were open on certain cars, he went inside the cars. He was very honest when he testified, and he also told police that the cars were not open, and he would just move on to the next car. So he was in various different apartment complexes. At some point in time, he came across Samantha Wall's apartment complex, and he was doing the same thing that he had been doing earlier, avoiding individuals. If he saw individuals out there, security, people walking, he would run away, walk in the opposite direction. So he was very consistent with his behavior as far as avoiding confrontation. At some point in time, he came across Samantha Wall's apartment complex. There was security there. He already previously had stashed a book bag in that particular area where Samantha Wall was generally located at. And he was going back to retrieve that book bag and came across her body. And then he checked her body for vital signs, bent over and touched her, checked her pulse, and that's where the blood was transferred from her to the back of his sleeve.
And we talked about this earlier in the week. For anybody who missed it, you were talking about how the amount of blood was very limited, and on the knife he had in his possession, there was no blood belonging to Samantha Wall on the knife. So I would imagine that was something that, you know, when he's being accused of stabbing in his possession contains blood. What else do you think here, Brian?
They were struggling with, or some was investigation for the ex-boyfriend, whereas the police not doing a very thorough vetting to see whether or not there's a more or less fact that his cell phone, a vast amount of individuals commit a murder to leave their cell phones to be tracked. That's kind of common knowledge. And I believe also there's some individuals being able to, because he never went there, and just that time frame that they're claiming that this crime happened. That flip side, somebody was, and I believe some people wanted to hold somebody, and the fact that he was the only individual with some type of decision to make.
You know, because it provided the temperament in the public, and initially, my gosh, this has to be a hate crime. We have this woman who's the lead, and she's murdered, and how brutal this, and then we find out it all. And the confesses. That's one of the most, and then retracts it. So I think that's a you're making about whether this investigation was thorough enough to eliminate him. If you're not going to charge him, then the jury needs to have a very clear understand why not, if somebody did a homicide and per motivation, depending on how their relationship ended. For Mr. Jackson-Bolanos, you know, I'm curious what his life was like other than this. What more can you tell us, Brian, you know, about him? Because we know him as a defendant here, but you've gotten to know him more so personally.
Yes, well, he was currently employed previously to this particular incident. He had goals. He was a manager for some local music talent in the area, and he just had, you know, goals as far as just progressing, you know, what he's doing about people. And I think that's played a role as far as when he saw Samantha Wall on the ground, he went to check her out. He's not a, you know, hard, I can say that.
Kindly for making time for us, and please keep us apprised as you learn of what's going on with your client and whether the state's going to amend any charges or continue the pursuit with the charges as they are. Attorney Brian Brown, take good care. Have a wonderful weekend. Speak soon.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.